Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Frame. My name is Jay Nephew, and I'm going to be your host for this afternoon's show. With me today, we have extraordinaire owner-operator Kyle Allison from Altitude 1291 and Andy's Alligator Water and Fun Park. Welcome, Kyle, again.
Hey, thanks, Jay, for having me again.
You are so welcome. I'm very glad to have you back. We had an incredible webinar yesterday. We talked about best practices for reopening and, best practices for operators, and we talked about reopening, planning to reopen, we should say. And there was so much good content from that webinar. And I also am thanking our other guests that we had on the show with us. You know, we had Craig Buster and Karen Davis Farage and Monty Pyburn, and they all had some really good things to share. But I thought I'd bring you back on today and we could kind of recap some of what we talked about yesterday for those that maybe didn't get a chance to watch us live or haven't watched the recording yet. I am going to switch over on my other screen so I can see who's watching. We've got Beth. Hi, Beth and Terry. Pleased to see you joining us today. If you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to type them in the chat and I'll do my best to monitor both. So Kyle, tell me a little bit about Altitude 1291 and your water park, because we didn't get a chance to dive too deep into your business yesterday.
Sure, yeah. So Altitude 1291, we opened up in late November of this year, or technically last year, I guess you would say. It feels just like yesterday, but we opened up this location. We opened up this location in late November. We have 12 lanes of string pin bowling from Cubic AMF. We have laser tag. We have a VR rock wall or augmented reality rock wall, arcade, bumper cars, and a full restaurant, full food and beverage with bar and all that. So it's an all indoor concept. We do have a nice patio with TVs and stuff outside, but it's all indoor. Where our other facility is the facility we've had for about 15 years is our fun park and water park, which is mostly outdoor. So it's going to be more of your traditional family entertainment center with the go-karts, mini golf. There's a rock wall there as well. A water park that we added on about, I think, 7 years ago. So it's more of your traditional outdoor concept. And then we kind of morphed and made a completely different, more upscale adult concept when we built the new facility.
So you've got the entertainment spectrum pretty much covered, indoor, outdoor. You've got multiple attractions to get people there. We talked yesterday about, what you've been doing and how you plan on sort of handling the reopening process. One of the things we talked about early on with the reopening process was a plan for that. And we kind of came up with the conclusion that yeah, there are some guidelines that you could kind of put out there for everybody, but state by state, county by county, and you had a unique situation. You said, we're in the same state. I got one place that's allowed to open and one place that isn't allowed to open, right? Tell us about that.
Right. Yeah. So, first of all, if you're watching this and you've not watched the webinar, go back and watch it, because I even took lots of notes while I was on that webinar, stuff that I needed to do. So we were early on making plan, deciding what we needed to do. Fortunately, one of our facilities is able to open up tomorrow. So we are able to open. And then unfortunately, we have another facility that's our original facility, the Fun Park and Water Park, that's only about 30 minutes away from here, can't open up until the end of May, early June. So we immediately, when we found that out, kind of focused our attention to the facility that can open up right now. And so that way we could make plans and everything we needed to get that going. The plans, like you said, we're some of the first ones to open. Usually when I need an idea, I get out on the internet and kind of look and choose and see what everyone's doing and morph it into our brand. But there wasn't really that assistance right now. So we had to start with, the local help from the local government of what they're publishing, the state government, the state health department, pull all those things together and get a plan that we felt was solid and safe for our guests. And I still, I said it this morning on our Facebook post for our guests that we are going above and beyond even the standards that we're required to do. So we really feel that we're going to have a safe, clean, fun environment for our guests.
And that was another thing that we talked about as a group, what should you be telling your guests? And we agreed as a whole that every one of you was going to tell that story of how we're making this facility better, safer, following all the guidelines, exceeding guidelines. You're telling that story to your guests that are wanting to come in. You need to constantly allow that message to be told, because although it seems repetitive to us, I think the general public does need that reassurance that you've thought about this fully. You have their best interest at heart, and you're going in that direction.
Right. I mean, because when to tell you the truth, I mean, before we opened up this facility in November, we didn't have bowling. We had mini bowling at our other facility. We didn't have bowling. So I didn't know the bowling industry very well at all. So even when we opened up this place, I learned about the thing, about cleaning shoes and that kind of stuff that a lot of the guests probably don't even know. And that stuff we already did before we, even got into this pandemic. So there are things that people don't know. And what we do to take care of our guests and what we do to keep things clean. And that that's also part of that education aspect, is now we have to show what we're doing. One of my favorite things I heard from someone in the industry, I don't remember who it was, said last week is really what we need to do is we need to hire a couple theater kids, and their sole job is just now clean. And we want you to be the most theatrical about cleaning, being real, use your jazz hands, clean. And so it's very interesting because, we're pivoting from this clean and get out of your guest's way, let them play, to now clean and be in their way and, make it a show.
Make that front and center. Use that. I love that idea. Actually, I wish we would have thought about, and I wish you'd have brought this up yesterday, actually. That is perfect, because you can take something that seems like, oh crap, now I have to hire someone to, just to clean stuff. But why not take it to the next level and hire someone, like you said, that's going to do it in such a fashion and recommend that they do it, or even train them to do it in such a fashion that it becomes part of the atmosphere. And it makes it a little bit kitschy, but it really promotes the fact that you care about the facility being clean and you care about your customers. I think they're going to view it as very welcome. They're going to love that kind of thing. Instead of worrying about if it's clean, they're going to know when they go to that particular facility, oh, it's clean. We see it all the time. So yeah, good job with that. What else do we want to talk about? I like some of the ideas that came up during the discussion yesterday. We talked about, telling that story of your guests of how things are clean, but also, social distancing and having to put what do they call it now? There's a name, that optics in place, right? It's a new word for me to use in this realm. So right. When you have your optics out there, meaning your floor decals and your signs that tell everybody what to do, where to go, what you've done, what you shouldn't do, why not take advantage of those also? And was it you who mentioned the QR code on the floor stickers for social distancing?
I think that was Craig. I know one thing.
It might have been Craig.
Yeah, we're doing the QR codes in our menus as well. But yeah, I mean, I loved the QR code idea, because you're engaging that guest, you're getting them to your website, and they're going on the website to look at what you're doing. But then we all know when they get on there, they're going to poke around and look at other things. And so we are doing whatever we can to obviously ensure the guests that everything's safe and clean, but then also, get them excited about something. They see the website, they, see the birthday party packages. You talked about the optics. I mean, we are not going to go this first couple of weeks. We're not going to press hard on birthday parties, because we feel that while that birthday parties do kind of encourage that group big meeting space, so True. we're kind of pulling back a little bit on our birthday party advertising, but we're pushing everything else. And when we feel it is the right time, we'll push more on birthdays. But also, I do know that parents are going to be, there's a lot of parents that are super sad they weren't able to have their kids' birthday parties. I mean, I know my wife, she spends months planning for my kids' birthdays.
Right.
Thank the Lord, one of them did not happen during this time, because it would have been a horrible situation in my house. No telling what should have had me done in the house to decorate, but so I know that these people are going to be ready. The guests are going to be ready to get back out and have fun. And then there's going to be some that aren't going to, and we totally respect that. And we understand. And, we are going into this knowing that we're not going to open up tomorrow and have the traffic we had the day we closed.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things too. We've set our expectations. I'm not going to say we set them low, but we've set them manageable. And we know that it's going to take a time to ramp back up.
Yeah. Uh, and it will just take that time. It'll take the comfort level of the guest to come back, but also I think you guys will get your feet, or anybody who opens will get their legs under them as they're open day after day early on, because early on you're going to be like, oh, this is all new. I'm a little, okay, we're supposed to do it this way, but that'll all come. It'll end up being like a groove when you're done. You know, it'll be second nature for everybody. And once it's second nature for you, your customers aren't going to feel the pain of it or the worry of it.
Yeah, and I think that's important too. Is some of those facilities are lucky enough to open up next week, or this week, sorry, Friday. But some people have to wait months, like our other facilities. And I really feel for those business owners and those families who are needing their facilities are still closed. They don't have that cash flow to keep things going. And so I'm hoping that us that are able to open, we can then show those operators what they can do when they can get their facility open, so they can get up quicker. They can get it going, because as an industry, we have to come together and get through this, because, I don't want to see that we have facilities closing due to this. And whatever we can do, those who are opening up early, I just encourage other operators to share what worked in your facility. What didn't work, I think, is usually what we like to learn the most.
So we don't make those same mistakes.
Exactly. And so that way we can make sure that those facilities that have to wait months to open are able to get.
They're going to have a leg up when they get ready to open, because they're going to have a lot of data and a lot of information from their cohorts that have opened. I want to take a moment to say hi to Eric, Kendra Garcia, and Suzanne. They've joined us and watching right now. We're talking, if you haven't watched, we're talking with Kyle Allison, and he's helping to recap the webinar that we had yesterday on best business practices for our owner operators when it comes to planning to reopen specifically. One of the topics that came up while we were chatting yesterday that I like this mentality. There are some operators that really are kind of against having to create an environment that their customers might feel is still reminding them of the crisis, like they'd rather not have their staff wear masks if they don't have to. Maybe they're not mandated locally. But if you have to do these things, I like the fact that somebody, said, what about, we're going to do branded face masks for our employees, because it'll make it feel more like a uniform and less like whatever. And I thought that was a clever idea. But they went back to the whole purpose of people coming to your facility. And I don't know if it was you that brought this up or not, but we talked about the escapism, which is why they want to, we want to open, because our people, are my customers, your customers who've been sitting at home, they need this escape. They're ready to get out of their house and do something within a safe guideline, something that they remember, that they love. How are you going to encourage that behavior there at your place?
Yeah, I think, people love to have fun. People love to do stuff with their kids. They love to do stuff with their family. And so they haven't been able to do this. I mean, they've been able to get out and exercise and walk around the neighborhood, but we aren't even letting kids play in parks right now. So,
right.
So for them to be able to get out, they're wanting to get into a place that's fun. Now we do want to take them into take them away from, reality a little bit, but then we do still have to understand that, COVID-19 is still here. It is still reality. So, we are doing that. We're requiring our employees to wear face masks during phase 1. We've not decided, if that'll keep going in phase 2 or not, but we are requiring our employees to wear face masks. That's something to protect them, just as, is
Sure.
protecting them more than the guests even, and protecting also the guests if they happen to have it. So
right.
We're taking the temperatures of our employees to make sure, they're not sick when they come in the building. So we are doing things that are still out of the ordinary, but we're hoping when we get a guest inside our environment, they're having fun, and we're not, completely killing all the fun, that we're able to still let them smile and have a good day. And so that's one thing, is we're not requiring they have reservations. We're not requiring they call ahead. So that still gives them a little bit of freedom of, oh, it's, Saturday night. We usually go bowling once a month. Let's go bowling. Let's call and see if they're open. And they call us and we're open, We're hoping those are the kind of things that people will get out and start doing. And they really, I know they miss it. I mean, I know I miss it. I can't wait. I just can't wait to go eat a meal in a restaurant. So
correct.
I'm sure people are excited to get out and have something outside of the home.
Yeah, I agree with that. The other, I'm going to shift topics now too. We talked a lot about some new products maybe that you would want to purchase to help with this situation. One of the funnest things I was like, there was a question that came up. What do you do about the bathroom doors? Some people said take them off the hinges and remove them altogether. But sometimes you have a bathroom that you can't do that with. It's the way it's laid out and designed. And I said, wait, I saw this product at this one place where you put your foot and open the door. And Craig's the one. He said it's called a step and pull or whatever.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, step and pull. And so today I went on Amazon to try to find it because he said just order them off of Amazon. And sure enough, there's like 20 different versions of them. And so that's a beautiful little thing. If you haven't thought about, how do I limit the touching of certain surfaces if I can? And that's a great, easy thing to install. 10, 15 bucks per door, you're done. Nobody has to touch the door handle again. You can push it open with your body and pull it open with your foot, done. So that was one of the things.
That's one of the things that, one of the things that we did is, luckily this facility is opening as a newer facility. So we don't have doors on our restrooms. We have more of I call them the retail style, the hallway, yep. You see in. But we do have a double set of front doors. Almost everyone does. And I do remember what's funny is I was talking about it with one of the employees. I remember during the building process when they said, okay, here's how much the sliding glass doors are going to cost, the automatic doors. And I said, no way in heck am I going to spend that many $1,000s on sliding glass doors. We're going to put normal doors in. And now I'm going back and going, man, I should have done those sliding glass doors. But so we took the interior set, and we're going to prop it open. We're going to leave those two open. And so
sure.
People don't touch those doors. They only have to touch the outside doors coming in. So
nice.
Like you said, little stuff like that, walk around your facility, look and see where your high touch points are. The stop and go, or the pull and go deal is a great idea. I've used those at restaurants before. I used them before even this thing started. So, I think that, we're putting out a lot of hand sanitizer stations. While we're on the topic of buying stuff to get back open, anybody who's watching this, please go do it now. Coming from someone who found out a week ago that we could open up today and having to go find all that stuff was tough. And that was one of the things the governor said in our state, if you don't have the supplies that we're asking you to have, then you can't open. So we, quickly had to go get these supplies. And, luckily we did start to order some of the stuff a few weeks ago, anticipating that we were going to get to open and, knowing that stuff's going to be low. But just for instance, the other day I had to drive around to grocery stores to get hand sanitizer because they'll only sell you 1 or 2 bottles at a time. So I'm driving around spending 2 hours of my day getting hand sanitizer. So there's going to be a challenge for people who are not able to open yet, that when they do find out if they can open, if they don't have the supplies, it's going to push their opening date back even further. So that's a big recommendation I can give anyone watching is to start getting those supplies now.
Funny, Karen mentioned that she was like, I'm going to Costco to get stuff because I have to. And then that kind of discussion morphed into, you're going to have to source new vendors sometimes. You're going to have to say goodbye to the old vendors who can't get your stuff, or maybe it's too expensive from them. And you may have to try to source new vendors. So that's something that's not easy to do. So tip number 8 million, when you're planning to reopen, plan for what you're going to need and start to source that now before you're ready to reopen so that you're ready to go when you get that, when the dime drops, because you may not be told exactly when it is right now. I know in Texas, we're here and bowling centers are in phase 2, and technically that is May 18th, I believe is the date for us, where they can limit opening to X number of percentage and whatnot. But if the dynamic situation changes, that may be pushed back.
Right.
So other areas are going to be the same way.
Well, okay, let's actually cancel early too. They've pulled back their ordinance to where they can open sooner. So it's going both ways in different.
It is going both ways.
So so you got to be ready.
You got to be ready. Taking care of sanitation within the building is obviously important, and there are some clever ideas that came out to ensure the guests are comfortable with how you've sanitized things, such as rental shoes and house balls, because we think about this. I mean, as a bowler, I think about this and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess everybody is putting their fingers in those balls, because I have my own stuff. So I never use, well, I don't never use a house ball, but I'm not using a house ball regularly. I just never would think twice about putting my hand in a house ball. But I guess that, now we have to be conscious of that. So how you handle that? We had some good tips with that. We heard that you could possibly set up a station near the desk with self-service with the cleaner and the towels and a garbage can, and let people bring the ball up and clean it themselves. We also saw or heard about self-sealing bags that, the staff could clean them, and there's a place on there, sanitized or cleaned on such a date, and it's sealed so it hasn't been used, and the balls could be put in these bags. Or even another option was like a Post-it note long type sticker thing that after the ball was cleaned, it went over the holes, so that the customer would peel that off, like, sanitize for your preference or for your use. And if they peeled it off, they knew that it was clean inside. So a lot of creative thinking out there for the sanitization stuff. And for the shoes, some people were looking into the shoe covers that flip over your regular shoe, so that you could take care of guests that weren't comfortable putting on a pair of shoes, but they could still bowl with the proper, at least sliding portion of their heel, of their sole rather. So there's a couple ways to look at that. Let's go, I want to touch on one more topic here before we kind of wrap this up today, because we are running a little bit long.
Oh, we lost you.
You really have to have that conversation with them first, right?
So we lost you for a second there. Will you say the question again real quick?
Sorry about that. I was saying employee perception and their safety. So the employee, making sure the employees are comfortable coming back to work, and they understand that you've got their best intentions at hand. So how do you, communicating that to them? And part of that, Nancy Shank had a great idea. She said, what I did with my employees was I sat them down and I said, you're going to write this reopening procedure the way we're going to do it. How are we going to handle guests in the future? And I want you as the frontline people to write this. And they took ownership of it. And because they wrote the rules and they took ownership, and she had some, say in it, but it's better because you've got your key staff involved, they're owning it, and now they're going to execute it flawlessly, in my opinion. What do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. We did yesterday, because since we're opening tomorrow, yesterday we had all of our employees come in for training. So we had 4 training periods, because we obviously couldn't come just all into one and one.
Right.
Try to social distance even with training. So we did 3 different time slots they could sign up for yesterday. And we started with showing them the BPA video on the COVID-19, how to wash your hands properly, a little bit about the virus, things to do that. So we showed everyone that, and then we went over our facility specific techniques of what we're doing. We asked questions. It was interesting. Like you said, a lot of them had good ideas. A lot of them had feedback. And so we put all that together. And ultimately we said, you need to feel comfortable coming back. If you don't feel comfortable coming back, you don't need to. If you want to wear masks after we stop requiring it, you can wear a mask after. If you want to wear gloves all the time, yes, you can wear gloves all the time, as long as you're wearing them properly. So we are going to be flexible and take care of our employees the best we can. And, to tell you the truth, a lot of the employees, the number one thing they said is they're just excited to get back to work. They want to get back to work and get in the facility just as much as the guests do. For
sure. Okay, well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule today, Kyle, to be with us and to recap this stuff with us. I do want to remind our audience and thank them for watching. If you're watching the video live, appreciate it. And if you're watching it after the fact, I also appreciate it, because the information isn't changing if you're watching it on the recording, that's for sure. I do want to remind you that we've got next week, which is the week of 5/2, I believe, the beginning of May. Next week, we're going to have Beyond the Frame on Tuesday. We've got another webinar scheduled, part 2 of the best practices and reopening. That's going to be hosted by Natasha Kipper. She'll be there on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Dottie San Martin will be back with Beyond the Frame. She's going to do both shows next week. And we've got a full week again for you. So for Beyond the Frame, for Cubica AMF and Jay Nephew, on behalf of myself and Kyle Allison, we appreciate you joining us today. We hope you have a great day. And our goal is to always keep you in the right frame of mind at all times. So thanks for joining us, guys. Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks.